What, you're not undefeated in 2021? The team you support in the NBA is not undefeated in 2021? And you're not a Pistons fan? You didn't sign Jeremy Grant? Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, the two J's, the best wing defenders, best two-way players in the league. Okay, Josh Jackson and Jeremy Grant have to say something about that. Peyton Pritchard, Rookie of the Year kind of nominee. Sadiq Bey, how about he slaps 5 threes in your face? That sounds about right to me. Still can't believe you're not undefeated in 2021. The team you support isn't undefeated in 2021, unless you're a Pistons fan or a fan of any other team, which I don't really care about at this point in time. But you've lost games to start 2021. That is rough. Like, I feel bad for you, honestly. Okay, I've had enough fun. Celtics fans, come on. Bring it in. Come on now. No, that's not happening because the Detroit Pistons are undefeated in 2021 and no one can say anything about it until we next play a game, which is probably inevitably going to be a win anyway because, I mean, you start as you mean to go on. So if you start the season, if you start the year with a win, then that's how you're going to finish the year and that's how you're going to go through the rest of the year undefeated. That seems about right to me. But yeah, the Pistons have got their first win and I couldn't be happier, clearly, because it's been a while coming. 4 losses, 4 close losses as well. It's not like we've been trounced at any point in time. I don't think we've looked like the worst team in the league at any point in time. We just haven't been able to close out games. It's been that simple. We've missed Blake Griffin, Derrick Rose. I think we're going to have to talk about Blake Griffin. I don't think he's a net negative on the floor yet, if you know what I mean, in terms of, I think he's still got something to provide as a player. For this team, I think his impact is diminishing by the day because he just doesn't look like he really fits in the team. He clogs up the ball movement. He's not a good defender. He doesn't run in transition. He puts his head down whenever someone makes a mistake. Unlike guys like Jeremy Grant, Josh Jackson, they're always full of energy. They're always uplifting guys. They're always uplifting the rookies, everything like that. Just the little differences, something Blake Griffin's just not really been good at this year, and it's been rough to see because he was one of my favourite players. I mean, he still is. For what he did for the Pistons a couple of years ago was fantastic, but now just looks a shell of himself, to be honest. All he's doing is camping out at the three-point line and jacking up threes and posting up from the three-point line. It's just not really something that's going to work towards winning, but we're on a positive note today because the Pistons have won, and we have to start with Jeremy Grant. 24 points again. I think he's dropped at least 24 in his last 4 games, which is ridiculous. People said he had 24 shots. Okay, here's the thing. Grant started the game aggressively, and he set the tone. The reason the Pistons win this game is because they get out to such a hot start. They were the worst out of the 2 teams for 3 out of the 4 quarters, but because of that first quarter, because it was so hot, and because the Celtics were so bad, but at the same time, the reason the Pistons got out to that start is because of guys like Jeremy Grant. Josh Jackson started pretty well as well. And we just have to talk about Grant. Everyone was kind of ridiculing the Pistons. Oh, who's going to pay $60 million for Jeremy Grant? He only averages 10 points a game. He was the 3rd option on the Nuggets, the 4th option. He comes in. He wanted more shots. He wanted to move from Denver to Detroit because he wanted more shots. Everyone ridiculed him for that as well. Now, all of a sudden, it looks like the Nuggets and the Pistons might have the same record because as I record this, the Nuggets are currently losing to the Suns, and that would put them to 1-4, the same record as the Pistons. He wanted more shots, and he's putting up numbers. Sure, he took 24 shots. This wasn't one of his more efficient games, but if you just look at his efficiency as a whole, I look at effective field goal percentage because that's what you should be looking at. It takes into account free throws, threes, and obviously field goals, 2-point shots. That's what you should be looking at. It doesn't matter about field goal percentage, which is strong as well, but he's been taking a number of threes. His threes weren't falling today, and he still played well. But he's been taking a number of shots. His effective field goal percentage is above guys like Jason Tatum. I didn't look through a number of other players, but just to keep that in mind, it's above guys like Jason Tatum, and he's putting up numbers as well, like 23 a game on an effective field goal percentage of around 54 to 55. That's above league average. So he's a volume scorer at above league average efficiency. I don't think you understand how impressive that is. That is like incredibly impressive to go from someone who was a 3rd option giving you 10 points a night to a volume scorer on above league average efficiency is like, that's really good. That's a case for most improved player. Everyone wants to talk about Christian Wood most improved. Well, Grant's doing pretty much the same thing, except he didn't even show signs of this last year. Like, at least with Wood, we saw signs that he was going to be a big scorer, and now he's playing alongside Harden. Grant is playing alongside a rookie point guard, Josh Jackson, Blake Griffin, who plays half of the games, sits out half of the games, Mason Plumlee. and he's putting up those numbers and the efficiency. Like, words can't describe how good he's been, and I think he needs more credit than he's got. Not to mention, he's also hustling on defense, as he always does. He's been good on defense as well. Like those Pascal-Siakam comparisons that I saw, and I was hoping that was the kind of jump he could make, I didn't expect it to happen this quickly. I thought it might take a few months, maybe a year. I thought maybe he'll go from 11 to like 16 to 18 points a game. That was kind of what I expected from him, just because of more shots, more opportunity. And maybe it's not going to keep up to the point where he's averaging 23 a game, but he's just attacking the rim so hard. He's knocking down his threes most of the time. Today was an exception. He's hitting a few mid-range shots, and he's just doing so much. He's getting out in transition. That poster, Daniel Tice, emergency department, that was insane. That was a ridiculous poster. That was just like cold. Like, Bleacher Report made about 7 posts about LaMelo Ball layups before they posted that, but that was ridiculous. One of the better posters I've seen all year. He just bodied Tice. That length, that athleticism, that's Christian Wood-like. That's the kind of player you've got. So any Jeremy Grant slander is just not accepted on this channel or anywhere where I have my eyes on in terms of Twitter, Instagram. Jeremy Grant slander, I will clap back. So that's enough Jeremy Grant praise for now, even though I could probably make a whole video about how good he is, because most improved player, all-star selection, you name it, MVP, it's all a possibility for Grant, because he's currently the best player on the Pistons, and it's not really close at all. It's not close at all. So that's really good for him. So he took his opportunity and he's thriving. Anyone saying, oh, he went to Detroit, why would he go to Detroit? To put up 25 a game and just be an absolute monster. Speaking of monsters, Josh Jackson did his thing again. I don't know what he ended up with tonight. Maybe he had a quiet night for his standards, but he's doing what he does. He's finishing at the rim. He hasn't knocked down his three-point shots as well as he was in preseason, which actually gives me some optimism, because I think his three-point shot's not broken at all. It's just not really falling to start the season, but everything else is great. He's getting to the rim. He made a couple of tough mid-range shots. Like Jackson, one of the steals of free agency. Sometimes he'll make a defensive play and you're just like, yeah, this guy could be something else if he gets it all together, because he'll make a chase down block being 5 meters behind the player and just swat that. He's done it a couple of times. He'll get in the passing lanes. He'll get a couple of stops. Like, he's shown flashes of, if he can piece it all together offensively and defensively, of being more than just a role player. But for now, to get him as a role player, considering what we picked him up for, which was nothing, that's a huge positive. You got to take those positives. Troy Weaver, clap it up. Give him a clap. Everyone doubted him. I didn't personally. Just saying. I said some of the moves were nice. High upside moves. Low risk. Jeremy Grant, worst case scenario, you trade him. He's still going to be a valuable asset regardless, and now he's even more of a valuable asset. Let's talk about Mason Plumlee. Defensively, offensively, wasn't his best game, but then his offensive rebounding was ridiculous. I don't know how many he ended up with, but it looked like he snatched about 10 in the space of 5 minutes. Not that we were really capitalizing, because we weren't making any of our threes outside of Sadiq Bey. The 3-and-D wings on this team are just ridiculous. Sadiq Bey, Jeremy Grant, Josh Jackson, have a word with yourselves. Sadiq Bey's come in, he's just ready to play. Knocked down 5 threes. He looks good getting to the rim. He just hasn't been able to finish, but he's strong. He's athletic. He's got a better handle than you expect. Like, he can put the ball on the floor and get to the rim. I think just once he starts using his body and driving through contact a bit better, then all of a sudden he could be a 3-level scorer, because I know his mid-range game is there as well. It's just not really a productive shot for him to take at the moment. Yes, Sadiq Bey came in and he's already been one of the more promising rookies in the entire class. He's looked fantastic. What else? Killian Hayes, he's going to get slandered because he scored 0 points again. I'm a little concerned about his shot, because it does look like it's falling short a lot, but at the same time, I made this point that when you come from a different league, you come to the NBA and you're trying to get your shot off, there's going to be taller, more athletic players. And when that happens, you know, when you come up against taller, more athletic players in basketball, you try to adjust your shot kind of mid-shot if you're not ready for it, which it doesn't look like he's ready for it. Whenever he gets to shoot, just looks like he's a bit rushed. The closeout kind of concerns him, and that's why his shot's a bit off, in my opinion. I think it's an adjustment more than anything. Maybe it's technical. I'm not that kind of analytical where I know if it's a technical issue or not. Let's give him a bit more time than 5 games before we call him a bust, okay? That's probably a good idea. People were calling LaMelo Ball a bust after 1 game, and now all of a sudden he's Rookie of the Year, the second coming of Magic Johnson. That's kind of how the world works. But anyways, that's my opinion on Killian Hayes. You've already heard enough about that. Is there anything else to note? I mean, when you've covered Jeremy Grant, you've already covered half of this team, because He's just amazing. Derrick Rose had a pretty good game as well. He provided some impact off the bench. He does what he does. He's still a bucket. He's not the best player on the team like some people would make you believe, but he's a good player and he's a bucket off the bench, and I'm still happy to have him there, even though sometimes he does make some boneheaded decisions because he tries to make a lot of tough shots and a lot of tough passes. Svi had his shooting boots on tonight as well to a degree. He hit a couple of threes. That's good to see. He really needs to start shooting the ball well if he wants to get in the rotation. When you've got guys like DeLon Wright didn't have his best game, but in general he's been good this season, and he's a secondary ball handler, so he can take the load off Killian Hayes or Derrick Rose respectively. So he offers a bit more than Svi on both ends of the floor. He's a pretty good defender as well. So if Svi's not knocking down his shots, he just doesn't really have a place in the team because Josh Jackson's clearly already taken over him. Hayes is going to get minutes at the 1. Derrick Rose is going to get minutes at the 1. And then it's up to DeLon Wright, Josh Jackson, Svi. At the moment, he's probably third in that pecking order. Unless he starts knocking down his threes, which he showed signs of doing tonight, then it's going to be hard for him to get game time. So I hope he does because he's got promise on that end of the floor. What else can I say? Undefeated in 2021. The year started off with a bang. How else would you want to start the year than a Pistons win over the Boston Celtics? If they're championship contenders, what does that make us? I'll just leave you with that one to ponder. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you next time.